Welcome to the Brothers Sinatra podcast, the only podcast featuring two swinging brothers talking about movies. I'm Jack Sinatra.
And I'm Tyler Sinatra, and we're the Brothers Sinatra. And one day we're going to say that in unison.
Yeah, you know, from my end, it did sound like unison this time. Of course, when we
Definitely
actually get the final cut, we'll see kind of where it landed. But if it went well, you got to remember that muscle memory, Tyler, because next time, you know, it's for real. Okay.
Next time it's for real.
Mama Sinatra
We're doing
has
it
been
live.
saying that, you know, the podcast has been going pretty good. She doesn't, you know, see any of the films, but what really turns her off is when that first part isn't completely together. You know?
That's true.
Because we have
and
to
Uncle
be a true
Enzo keeps telling us, Uncle Enzo keeps saying, your podcasts are good, but I keep falling asleep. And I say, that's exactly what they're designed for, Uncle Enzo. You're supposed to listen to us.
The sleep aid category on Spotify.
Yeah, we're going to put it in there, folks. Sleep aid. You put it in there. But our voices are very nice to listen to as you go to sleep. Think about that.
Yeah,
next
it's very
time you're listening.
soothing. We pride ourselves on being very soothing to listen to.
Yeah, we're very soothing.
Sleep, okay?
It's soothing for your sleep.
And
it's
here's
good
the other
for you.
thing, Tyler. Working, building, never stopping, never sleeping, working, making,
building,
some for selling, some for keeping.
Some for keeping. Oh, Jackie, you're bringing me back to the show. You're bringing me back in.
Waiting for Guffman today, Tyler. Not waiting for MacGuffins, okay? We're waiting for Mort Guffman. Do you think he was named that because of he was a MacGuffin, kind of?
Honestly, Jackie, I always thought it was like a Waiting for Godot.
Oh, well, it is definitely Waiting for Godot, but this is just off the top of the dome. That wasn't even one of the questions I had written down. But I digress. Listen, we got to talk about the socials, okay? The socials are really, you know, they're blowing up, Tyler.
Oh,
they're really
blowing up.
Popping off, okay?
Yeah.
Now,
we're doing so good.
Listen on Spotify. You got to follow us on Spotify or Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts. Just go ahead and follow.
Apple Podcasts.
Okay, you can comment.
Yeah.
Really give it to us. Dish it out in the comments. If there's a little heart button next to the track, then you can go ahead and use that heart button. Basically, if there's anything that you can click on that's not like a thumbs down or a clear negative.
Always thumbs up.
Oh, yeah. Be positive.
Do the thumbs up.
That's what we like. And give us those 5-star ratings. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we also got Instagram, Tyler. We got Instagram. Yeah. We got the Facebook.
Oh, Instagram's great.
Okay.
The Facebook.
We got
a TikTok.
We got the TikTok. Okay, we got a YouTube. We don't do as much on the YouTube.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah, that's the YouTube is more supplemental.
Uncle Enzo only has so much time to put all this stuff out on the social medias. Okay, when he's not working on his steel body cars,
very slowly.
He just jumps
he's in the garage all day, folks.
He does it on a desktop computer, to be fair.
Yeah, okay, and it's an old Dell.
And he still types with his fingers like he's on a typewriter.
It's like one at a time, It's like click, click. But he gets the work done, and honestly, he's the best editor we've had.
Absolutely. All right, so that's the socials. We got some upcoming stuff, Tyler. Okay, we had a fantastic show at the Roxy Lockport last night.
Just last night, Jackie.
It was beautiful, and we're going to be
wonderful
going back
venue
there. So, you know, keep on the lookout for that. That was a phenomenal
Put your ear to the ground for that one, folks.
Ear to the ground. Maybe one eye on the social medias, okay?
One eye on the media,
go to
one ear to the ground.
VeryEntertaining.biz, see the full slate of what we're doing. And what you're going to see
we got a ton of stuff
on VeryEntertaining.biz is, number one, on Thursday, we're going to be on TV, Tyler. We're going to be on WGN, Daytime Chicago.
Folks.
Okay?
We're two TV brothers
Chicago.
now. Can you imagine two TV brothers?
No. And they said, wait a minute. You're two brothers coming in, singing and swinging? Well, we got to get you in prime time, which is between 10 and 11. Okay, 10, 11
That's the primest of time for two brothers.
Okay? Because for those of us that are real party animals, we don't even go to sleep. We're still up from the night before.
We're still up from the night before.
So that's the primest time that you can get. Okay?
You think your late night shows with your Stephen Colbert's and your Jimmy's Kimmel, you think that's a late night? No. Imagine staying up all night and staying up until the 10 o'clock show.
So listen, Thursday,
what we're talking about.
That's talking February 12th. All right, WGN
February
Daytime
12th.
Chicago, 10 to 11. Then the day after that, we're going to be at Colvin House in Chicago for a Valentine's dinner from 6:30 to 8:30. Okay?
Little Valen dinner? You want a Valen dinner and a show?
Little show.
Little Valen dinner and a show?
Show.
Oh, you gonna go?
Dinner.
You gonna do it?
Show.
Oh,
okay?
I think you are.
But you got to get a ticket.
You better go. You gotta get a ticket. You're gonna hear two brothers swing.
And then on the actual day, Tyler, after you've given your beautiful Valentine's gift to your beloved bride, okay? We're going to go to the vault, and we're going to get locked in from 7 to 10 p.m. We're going to get locked in at the vault. All right?
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Our usual time.
We're going to get
but
locked
this time, it's Valentine's.
It's going to be locked in for Valentine's Day at the vault.
It's going to be the best Valentine you could have.
Oh, I see what you did there. Little word play.
Word play.
And you can get some of that and even more when you see two brothers at the vault on Valentine's Day. All right? That's in Yorkville. All right? Take a little trip to Yorkville, why don't you?
Bring your open hearts and bring your love on your sleeve, folks, because you'll need it.
All right, Tyler. We're taking a one-way trip courtesy of Blaine Fabin, going on that trail to California, but we're stopping. We're just going to stop forever in Blaine, Missouri. Let's go for Waiting for Guffman here. All right?
I'm going to go for it, Jackie. Why don't you tell us a little bit what it's about? Why don't you really over-explain it and really tell the people, give a really
I'm going to do
wordy
an over-explain, but first we got to go through some Sinatra stats, okay? And by the way,
Sinatra
Tyler,
Stats.
this is the second edition of our Sinatra Classics series, okay?
Sinatra Classics,
So we got the
folks.
Sinatra Streams, that's kind of the more modern stuff that's out, that's kind of fresh. The Sinatra Classics, these are things that, you know, they never, you know, expire. They're on the shelf. That's like that Wonder Bread that's got something in it that they put in yoga mats, so it just never goes bad, you know?
They got those meals that the astronauts eat that are all in that vacuumed package stuff.
The freeze-dried ice cream.
The freeze-dried stuff. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It'll last forever.
So this is one of those, Waiting for Guffman. All right, the director, Christopher Guest. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Christopher Guest.
We'll talk about Mr. Guest.
Now, it was written by the same Christopher Guest and Eugene Levy. Okay, so they were the writers. We'll get into how much was actually written or not, but there was some writing at play.
A little bit of writing.
So we're going to go through some of the cast. There are a lot of featured actors. We're going to go through the main ones, but there are many, many here. But the starring roles here, Christopher Guest as Corky St. Clair. We got Eugene Levy as Dr. Alan Pearl. Fred Willard as Ron Albertson, and his wife, Sheila Albertson, played by Catherine O'Hara. Our beloved and the late, great Catherine O'Hara, the main reason why we're doing this film today, okay?
The main reason, folks, in honor.
We got Parker Posey playing Libby Mae Brown, one of a collection of various Southern people that Parker Posey plays excellently, okay? Now, after those starring characters, those are really the focus, but there's some wonderful kind of bit parts. All right. So the other people that are actually involved in the play, because there's a whole show within a show aspect. We got this guy that plays the narrator. That's Louis Arquette, and his character's name is Clifford Woolley. We got kind of the music director, Bob Balaban, who plays Lloyd Miller. We got Johnny Savage, who we'll talk about a lot in what's to come, but he's played by this guy named Matt Keeslaw. Okay?
Oh, we're going to talk about him a lot because he's not featured very much, Jackie.
We got Brian Doyle Murray popping up for like 5 seconds as Johnny Savage's father. We got
a little
Michael
Murray in
Hitchcock.
there.
Okay, if you've seen the other Christopher Guest films, or if you've seen, he was recently in the show The Lowdown that had Ethan Hawke in it. He just shows up all over the place. And if you don't know his face, when I say the name Michael Hitchcock, just look him up. I'm sure you'll recognize this guy. He plays one of the officials of the town that's putting together the thing. His name is Steve, but you don't really, you watch it, you're not going to remember his name, to be honest with you. Then you got Larry Miller.
That's not very nice to say, Jackie. You can remember his name.
Oh, sure.
You can remember his name.
Why not? He's Steve, okay? You got Larry Miller, who plays the mayor, okay? The mayor.
He's the mayor.
Larry Miller I believe he's in not Miss Congeniality, The Princess Diaries.
And Things I Hate About
Correct?
You.
Yeah, he shows up again. He's one of those faces. If you've seen Best in Show, which again we'll talk about in a bit, you'll recognize this guy. He pops up all over the place. And then, are there any other kind of bit parts? David Cross makes a little. He pops up. You got Paul Dooley, who's in some of the other Christopher Guest films that we'll talk about, and Bob Odenkirk was in a deleted scene. So you had the Mr. Show secret. Guys. This is kind of at the same time technically, Mr. Show is going on.
He's in a scene even in the theatrical release too, Jackie. He's in it. It's just like
he's not doing anything.
Right. He doesn't say anything. He's in the back.
But there is a deleted scene where he's doing a little bit more. So you got David Cross and Bob Odenkirk, the Mr. Show guys, and they're loosely sort of on the edges of this, okay? So a lot of people Jackie, involved, as with any Christopher Guest movie.
You can't forget about Don Lake, Jackie. You can't forget about Don Lake.
Okay. Tell me about Don Lake. Come on. What's your history with Don Lake?
Well, honestly, the only other thing I know him from is, you remember the Super Mario movie with John Leguizamo?
Sure.
He's Sergeant Simon, and I was like, oh my gosh, that man was... That's not... By the way, folks, the new Super Mario's movie, the Illuminations picture? No, nothing compared to the original Super Mario Bros. Movie from the 90s. Check it out, folks.
Bizarre. You gotta go down a very strange road with that film, Tyler. It wasn't as imprinted on me as with you, but okay, we'll shout out.
It's like it's Bob Hoskins, I think.
Oh yeah, it certainly was.
What an insane,
very strange
movie.
So let's get back to Guffman here. I watched it on Netflix. I think in light of everything that has occurred with the sad passing on January 30th of Catherine O'Hara, Netflix has basically all of these Christopher Guest films now, so they're very accessible if you've got Netflix. I highly recommend, if you don't have it, just buy it. It's probably, hopefully they're not price gouging
the purchase
at this point, but it's a great film, and it flies by. It's only 84 minutes long.
Yeah.
84 minutes long. That is unheard of today. Usually, when you go see a movie, it's like
2.5 hours.
Yeah, or you get the
3 hours.
We Meet on Vacation was like an hour 52, and I can't even tell you why that needed to happen. This one,
no, it didn't.
It really leaves you wishing that maybe there was a little bit more. And what's crazy is that when they film these movies, they shoot so much footage, and it's really more of an editing game. And so that they could have made a 3-hour cut. There was a much longer, like 2-hour cut, but they kept, chopping off, whittling it down. So it's lean, it's mean, and it's really just an easy watch, and it's worth checking out the deleted scenes, which we'll talk about more in the time to come. This was originally released for the Boston Film Festival, August 21st, 1996, and then it had a very small, like 50 theatrical release in January of 1997. So you could say easily that this is kind of a cult classic because it just did not have wide renown at the time of its release. It had a $4 million budget, and it only made $2.9 million domestic. So this was not, a commercial.
Oh, it was not a commercial success, folks. If that was in the papers today, they would say, this movie's terrible, no one should go see it. It was a failure. Christopher Guest probably shouldn't make another film.
However, the Rotten Tomatoes on it, and this is one of those ones where Rotten Tomatoes on older movies, especially these cult movies, I just think it wasn't very widely reviewed, in its own time. I believe even on the Rotten Tomatoes site, there's definitely less than 50 reviews, but it's got 90%. And then it's got a 91% audience score. So this kind of alignment is not only surprising to me because there's so much about this movie that is very of its time and something that would never be made in the same way today.
For sure.
But, that's just very interesting that it's got both the critical side and the audience side when I rewatched it, and this is a movie I've seen over and over and over again, I was really surprised that it had as high of an audience score as that. Just because I'm so close to the film, it's hard for me to be objective about it.
Yeah. I also think it does have to do a bit with what you were saying before, Jackie, about how the reviews, Rotten Tomatoes didn't exist, when the movie came out.
Yep.
The fact that there's less reviews, I do think a little bit of nostalgia probably trickles in. The fact that the critic scores existed in newspapers and those were filtered into the Rotten Tomatoes system, people can look at those reviews and say, oh, I'm also as smart as a critic, therefore I'm making it an 89, a 91, Correct. A 90. I think that may shade it a little bit too, but I do think it deserves the score that it got.
Oh, sure.
But I agree with you about like the timing of the ratings and how they came in.
But not only is it highly rated, it has this feel that it's definitely from a previous time. Not only because, it certainly wasn't at this point. 1996, that is literally 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
This was made.
Yeah.
But it also was filmed on 16 millimeter film instead of the standard kind of theatrical size, which gives it, a very kind of documentary, old school feel, even more than it would have if they had shot it on regular film. And all of the shooting, for the most part, is in one location. There are a couple of shots that they do in L.A., but basically they do everything in this one actual small
location,
town. Yeah, we'll get into the specifics of exactly where.
I didn't keep track of this the whole time, Jackie, but did you keep track? Is this shot single camera the whole time?
Because I believe there were a couple scenes, and it's hard to tell if you've got one camera and they just do multiple close-ups, multiple takes, but there are some scenes where it does jump to a different perspective on a person, a close-up, but there's a lot of jump cuts, so it's hard to tell if it was the same camera and it's just further ahead in time, But
that's another reason why I think it feels so, I don't want to say it's not dated, it feels more theatrical in that way, more classic film, because restricted cameras. We didn't have 6 different angles. It was 1 or 2, a lot of single shots of people, and then shots of a room where people are staged.
Yep.
And I think that lends itself a lot to the more theatrical, like a 12 Angry Men. That's a very classic film with a very structured single room shot, and it lends itself to that kind of thing too.
So let's talk about Christopher Guest movies in general. What is a Christopher Guest movie? What are your favorite Christopher Guest movies? So basically, we start. We're not going to go over all of his films, but basically the first kind of stick in the sand that you can point to is that he was a writer and obviously starring in This Is Spinal Tap in 1984. So this whole mockumentary vibe, and that was a Rob Reiner film, basically.
Wonderful film.
Yeah, so, that is kind of where the jumping off point is, especially for this mockumentary style. And so that was a big hit at the time.
Really turned it up to 11, Jackie. Turned it up to 11. I
see what you did there. But it's really, it's really timeless. It's still a lot of people's one of their favorite movies. But he did not direct that. So is it a Christopher Guest movie? Sort of. It is. He had a hand in writing it. It's obviously very influential on this film, Waiting for Guffman, and then all these other mockumentaries that he goes on to do. His first directed film, and he had, I think, some TV anthology stuff that he did in the interim, but he had a feature film that he directed in 1989 starring Kevin Bacon and Martin Short called The Big Picture. I've never seen it. Have you? Do you have any relationship?
No, I don't have. But I saw the same thing, Jackie, when I was looking up some information, and I was like, no wonder Martin Short was trying to get into Waiting for he wanted to be in Waiting for Guffman.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no wonder he saw the writing on the wall. He knows what Christopher Guest had in his pocket.
Yeah, so that was his first try. And what was interesting, I read that it got 2 thumbs down from Siskel and Ebert, but it's got somewhere in the high 80s or maybe low 80s in a Rotten Tomatoes right now. So it's something that, again, people look back on positively, but it's not a mockumentary. It's kind of a more standard film. Again, I haven't seen it, so I can't expound too much about it, but that was something I didn't know. So that was kind of his first time in the director's chair. And then in between Waiting for Guffman and that film, you had the second Spinal Tap movie. But basically, here we are in whenever they started filming. It could have been early 96, possibly 95. This is his first time directing a mockumentary, and this obviously would become kind of his signature thing. So he comes in, Eugene Levy is also involved. The Spinal Tap guys are also involved, writing a lot of the music for the actual show, for the Red, White, and Blaine, the show within a show that they're kind of producing throughout
a musical review, Jackie. Yes. A musical review of the town of Blaine.
And obviously that'll be a big part of our discussion. But just go ahead and tell me, what are your top Christopher Guest movies of these mockumentaries that kind of start with Waiting for Guffman and go all the way to Mascots, which was a Netflix film in 2016. That's kind of the last one he did.
Mascots I do really enjoy. It's funny, he is playing Corky Sinclair in Mascots again. He reprises his role from this, which is funny.
It's almost, I mean, we'll have a sequel discussion later, but it's almost a sequel. Almost.
I consider it a sequel in my head. But A Mighty Wind is by far my favorite. Okay, no. Jackie, I have such a hard time with this.
So start with number three. Start with three.
Okay. Number 3, Christopher Guest film. And it's not one of his mockumentaries. I'm sorry, Jackie.
Really?
It's Almost Heroes.
Okay.
It's Almost Heroes, Jackie.
Did he direct
Chris
that
Farley.
one?
Yeah, he directed it, Jackie. It's the Chris Farley, Matthew Perry, Lewis and Clark film. That was my first time ever seeing Chris Farley. I had never, as a child, I didn't know SNL. I had no idea who Chris Farley was. That Lewis and Clark movie, I was like, this guy's hilarious. And knowing that Christopher Guest got me onto a Farley kick and then eventually got me into the Tommy Boys and I really appreciate that.
I believe was my first Chris Farley. So that's number 3. What's number 2?
That's my number 3. Number 2, I'm switching it. It's A Mighty Wind. I do love A Mighty Wind. I love the music. I love Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. Again, Mitch and Mickey, I believe.
Yep, Mitch and Mickey.
The Kiss at
And that was nominated for an Academy Award, their song, and they performed it live at the Academy Awards.
So good. I don't want to gush too much over it. They do sound beautiful in that recording. But Best in Show. Best in Show is number 1 for me. I have the exact
same number 1 and number 2 as you. And then my number 3 that I threw in is the movie that we're talking about today, Waiting for Guffman. And Waiting for Guffman, in a lot of ways, is kind of my... It's like I can say without a doubt that Best in Show is the best one. It's just the one that has the most cultural cachet, the most quotable. Funny enough, I think it has one of the least interesting Christopher Guest performances. I think that his stuff that he does personally, I mean, he, in a lot of ways, in Waiting for Guffman, it works because of what he does, bouncing off against everybody else.
Absolutely, yeah.
He's more of a
the juxtaposition of Corky. It's honestly, I think it is Corky versus the town of Blaine. It is a juxtaposition of his entire personality versus this small town demeanor.
And then I have A Mighty Wind at number 2. Because it just wasn't as culturally relevant, even though in a lot of ways, I mean, the music is amazing. You get Harry Shearer coming back into the picture, and he plays a big part. You kind of got all the Spinal Tap guys, and that's one of the most fun parts is they have their own, folk group where they're
the 3-part group, and it's so good. They do the what cover do they do? They do the Rolling Stones cover. Make a grown man cry.
I mean, this is probably a movie that we'll do at some point down the line, so we don't need to get too much into it. But I mean, I literally had the songbook when I was a kid because the music was actually phenomenal. There's a lot of little jokes in the songs, but I mean the fact that it was actually nominated for an Academy Award, and that song you could take at face value, the Mitch and Mickey one, and it was actually very touching, and their performances were
it's wonderful.
Amazing. Catherine O'Hara was playing auto harp on that song. Actually, it's just the level of talent and the level of them actually being musicians and actually being able to sing is pretty incredible. That's on full display in A Mighty Wind. In Waiting for Guffman, it felt like they were kind of on purpose just knocking their talent level down a peg because they were playing these kind of community theater people. So it's very entertaining, but in A Mighty Wind, you actually see what they're able to do, from a true talent perspective.
Oh, yeah. But I do think it is a testament in Waiting for Guffman. I do think it takes a certain amount of talent, or you need to be good enough to be good to make it look like you're not doing so good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and we'll talk about a lot of that as we kind of go through the specifics of how they perform, how they rehearse.
If you were to analyze, especially again, Catherine O'Hara, in some of those scenes, the auditions, and when they're performing the show, if you've ever been in theater, Jackie and I grew up doing theater.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
we're always on the stage.
You've met these people. You know who these people are, and Catherine is so...
And you could watch the whole film, especially when they start doing the show within the show, and you could just watch her, and the level of what she's doing in any given moment, there's always something to it that is so subtle, so perfect, and so, again, like you said, this is someone that you've seen at community theater that, exists out there in the world. And when you watch the deleted scenes, each thing that she does is like you feel a tribute to an actual type of performer that she's crossed paths with over the years. So that's a good segue into actually talking about Catherine O'Hara. That's the reason why we chose this film today. So just give me some quick hits of what are your favorite Catherine O'Hara performances throughout the years?
We've talked about A Mighty Wind to get into the transition, Jackie. I gotta mention it again, but I think for modern viewers, if you haven't seen anything Catherine O'Hara yet, check out Schitt's Creek. It is on all stream. I think it's on Netflix, Hulu.
Folks.
Yeah, and it's a Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara. It is in A Mighty Wind. They're playing partners, and they are partners in this as well, and they play very well off of each other. Definitely worth a watch. Hilarious. Written by Eugene, and I think, is it Dan or Dave?
Daniel.
Is Daniel Levy?
Yep.
It's his son. Incredible. Great show. Home Alone, the titular mother character. She blew us all away. Home Alone 1 and 2. She's the mom of Kevin McAllister. Oh, the worrywart. The sort of stitched up too tight. And then everything goes wrong.
She's got a couple of comedic moments, especially in number 2.
Sure.
It's a little bit more slapstick, but it shows her as a serious actor as well. So her ability,
you can see her as a real mother,
ridiculous, but then her ability to absolutely be America's mom is unparalleled. Sure. I feel like everybody has a relationship with Catherine O'Hara as a mom, as a complete goofball, as someone who's completely on edge and totally out there. And she was the saddest part of her leaving us so soon, is she had so much more to give, and she was really starting to be in a lot more stuff. She was in The Last of Us.
She was starting to do a lot of voice acting too.
She was in The Studio, which got a ton of awards, playing an Amy Pascal type producer. So the fact that I'm sure there'll be a couple of posthumous things that are out there.
For sure,
but
Jackie.
You just know that, especially with things like The Studio, she could have kept on doing that for years and years, and so it's very sad that we're not going to get that.
I agree, Jackie. But speaking of her range, she could be America's mom. She could be a goofy little comedian, and she could be a wild and out there artist who's completely full of herself, like in Beetlejuice, where she's Delia, and the mother, she's just terrible. Not a great mom in that one, but boy is she fun. The scene where they sing Sonora, where they're all dancing at the table. Oh my gosh.
That was probably most people's introduction to her. So that was in 1988.
I think so too. An incredible
hot
film.
Off of that, in 1990,
Michael Keaton, Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder. Directed by Tim Burton.
Ryder, I hardly even know it, Tyler.
Jackie.
Home Alone 1, 1990, Home Alone 2 in 92. She was in Nightmare Before Christmas, so, she just keeps on stacking up, these crazy numbers in the late 80s, early 90s. Of course, before then, she was in SCTV, which is kind of where she got known by, many people. She came from that kind of Canadian club. That's why her and Eugene Levy are so tight over the years. Then just one other one, or a couple here I want to mention. Orange County in 2002. The old Colin Hanks number where he was trying to get into college. She played his kind of burnt-out mother in California, and so I watched that movie a lot when I was younger. And then she was also in a very, very famous Curb Your Enthusiasm episode as Marty Funkhouser's sister Bam Bam. So I've seen a lot of those clips going around on the timeline there. So Catherine O'Hara, absolutely fantastic. And if you watch all of these Christopher Guest films, I think the only one that we didn't mention in that conversation was For Your Consideration in 2006. That's the one that kind of, you had this 10-year span where you had Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, and then For Your Consideration, and then a 10-year break until Mascots came out. So that 10-year span of those four, she was in all four of those and played an extremely important part in all of them. So I highly recommend checking any of those out. But we got to get talking about this film, Tyler. So we're going to
got to start, Jackie, because if you don't start now, you'll never get through your summary by the end of the video, Jackie.
Well, you're probably right about that. Although I don't think it's as long as it normally is, but there will be spoilers, okay? So this is a spoiler warning. This is a Brother Sinatra.
Spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Waiting for Guffman and you want to watch it before you hear us talk about it, we're going to be revealing all of the information, including
you better get ready
when and where Guffman comes after we've been waiting so long. Here's the spoilers, and this is the Sinatra summary, okay? So, a documentary crew covers the casting, rehearsal, and production of Red, White, and Blaine, a musical to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Blaine, Missouri. We follow a ragtag group of local amateur actors, including travel agent couple Ron and Sheila Albertson, dentist Dr. Alan Pearl, and Dairy Queen associate Libby Mae Brown, all assembled by the eccentric community theater director and New York expatriate Corky St. Clair, okay? As the show comes together, we learn about the history of Blaine as an accidental destination for some Philadelphia settlers, the former stool capital of the world, and the actual first UFO landing site. We also learn about the people of Blaine in the present and their relationship to the impending celebration. With time ever ticking closer to the show, Corky reads out a telegram from a theater-adjacent organization in New York explaining that they're sending a representative, Mr. Mort Guffman, to evaluate the production and provide feedback. Corky explains that this might mean that they're going to Broadway, immediately raising the stakes and the excitement of the show. When the show begins, a conspicuously empty chair marked reserved gives the cast anxiety that Guffman is a no-show, but soon a man dripping with gravitas occupies the chair and the show goes on with hope restored. Afterwards, Corky ushers Guffman backstage to meet the cast, where he reveals that he's just some guy, bursting everyone's bubble. An ill-timed note from a production assistant reveals that Guffman never even left New York due to a snowstorm. 3 months later, our cast are scattered to the wind pursuing their own dreams, and Corky moves back to New York and opens a shop where the memories of Blaine live on in the midst of his vast collection of memorabilia.
Oh, wow, Jackie, that was so long.
You know, you gotta really paint the picture. And I didn't even mention several characters that exist in this movie.
Yeah, but it's a synopsis, Jackie. You could just say something simple like a ragtag group of quirky community theater players prepare for and subsequently perform a musical review while anticipating the attendance of a Broadway agent.
Was he a Broadway agent?
That's what it was implied, yeah.
I mean, that's what Corky said. But he was from, like, the Oppenheimer Foundation. We'll get into it. We don't need to get into it here.
That's what Corky said it was. They are anticipating an agent.
Well, they're anticipating that his being there would lead them to possibly getting to Broadway. But in any case, you just got to let me do the Sinatra summary in my own way, okay? You can do it in your way. I'm going to do it in my way. I like to
You
have
can
a
do
little
whatever
more
way you
detail,
want, but then I
okay?
get to say whatever I want, Jack. I can say whatever I want about it.
Well, you have a microphone, Tyler. I tried to get it so I was only talking, but Mama said that you have to be part of the podcast too. So that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this.
Enzo didn't want me to be part of the podcast. He wanted me to keep helping him clean the garage.
Yeah, he said you got to put a little bit more into your buffing, okay? Whenever you're buffing the car, you're not getting into all the cracks and crevices, okay? You got to put a little bit more into it, all right? Get some
Jackie,
more leverage.
it's not my fault. It's not my fault. I ran out of elbow grease.
Well, is elbow grease?
Yeah. I keep going into Ace Hardware and being like, you have any elbow grease? And they say, nope.
Tyler, I want you to look up elbow grease, and we'll get back to that. But let's go to nothing but the best. We're going to talk about only the best parts, and this time, I'm actually only going to talk about the best parts, okay? I think this is a movie that you got to go and see to get the full scope of everything, but I just picked out 4 different pieces that I want to talk about in this section, Tyler.
Go for it, Jackie. I'd love to hear your best parts.
All right. So number one that I have here, and this is kind of broad, just the local history snippets that they have in the beginning, where they're really kind of, they're doing the world building of where we're at. We're in Blaine, Missouri. Now, if you didn't know this, Blaine, Missouri is not a real town. So it's a fictional town that they created in Missouri, and you quickly find out that it's named after Blaine Fabin, who is this settler character who they said came from Philadelphia, came out to this spot in Missouri, and he told everyone in his party that basically...
the ocean.
What's that? Yeah, he's like...
He found the ocean.
Do you smell that in the air? It's the salt from the ocean. We've made it. I've brought you to California. And so they... pretty quickly they're realizing that the ocean is nowhere to be seen, and he's like, oh, no, it's just low tide, don't worry about it. And then basically the historian says, but then everybody decided that, hey, this is a pretty nice place to stay, and so they just settled there. So I guess I'll step on something I was going to leave till later just because we're talking about this now. But basically, you've played the game Oregon Trail, right?
Jackie, yeah.
Now, see, in Chicago and Illinois, we call it Oregon Trail. I realize that some people out there that actually live in this place call it Oregon. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I call it Oregon.
Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, the Oregon Trail. Yeah, that's very Illinois of us, Jackie.
But do you remember, Tyler, where you set off from when you're on this trail? What's the starting point?
Jackie, it's been so long. I don't remember.
Well, I'll tell you. It was Independence, Missouri. And guess where Independence, Missouri is, Tyler?
Where, Jackie?
It's 10 miles from the Kansas border. So how did Blaine Fabin get... He started in Philadelphia. Now, to get from Philadelphia to Independence, Missouri, the start of the Oregon Trail, there is roads that exist, pathways that are mapped, okay? So... how did he get from 10 miles from the Kansas border to going wherever he went in the state of Missouri long enough where everybody was like, oh, this makes sense because we've been doing this for X amount of months or whatever, and multiple people died of dysentery, so this must be a long enough journey to get to California.
I mean, they could have gone in circles, Jackie.
I mean, maybe he led them literally from Philadelphia and just went not on any roads, and they just didn't realize that all of those pathways were created. But anyway, that's a big kind of point of contention, is that, I mean, if you take it at face value, it seems pretty inept. But if you actually put it in the context of the Oregon Trail actually starts in Missouri, and not only that, but far western Missouri, I mean, he was a real big idiot. So you could take that to just mean that kind of everybody in the town is kind of stupid. There's a lot of stupid stuff that happens, okay?
A lot of stupid stuff that happens.
And there's a lot of things that don't make sense. But a lot of that is just due to the improvisational nature of how they, did the film. Because, like we were saying earlier, the stuff that was written is mostly the show. Everything else was just improvised in real time as they were doing these fake interviews for the mockumentary.
It was like 16 pages of like outlined material and then the show, and then they improvised the rest of it.
And then the other historical pieces that they go through is the fact that it's the stool capital of the world. So he talks about, this young Jimmy whatever that gave a stool to President McKinley. So he goes through that story. And a lot of this is just setting up things that are going to be recreated in the actual show.
In the musical, yeah.
And then they have a couple of things about the alien landing that was like the year before Roswell. So the year before Roswell, they had a UFO that landed, and they didn't just see it. They actually went on it and had a potluck
and
dinner.
Got probed.
And then the guy that was the probe thing, which I have in a separate section that we'll talk about. So those local history snippets is the first thing I've got. The second thing I've got is the auditions. So just all of the auditions. That's some of the probably most shareable, most social media ready stuff. I mean, that's the thing that was going around when Catherine O'Hara, exactly. So if anybody is just listening and not watching, Tyler just did the little handshake that Fred Willard and Catherine O'Hara do before they go to their audition, and they do that midnight at the Oasis, which I remember because I used to have the DVD and listen to the commentary and all of that stuff. Basically, that midnight at the Oasis bit was essentially they took a coffee commercial and like they were just reenacting this coffee commercial that was around. I don't remember when it was, but basically that's what they were doing. It was this weird, based
just
on
like that
random
Folgers coffee commercial that's running around again on social media with the brother that comes back. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Where it's like, where we'll talk about it off the podcast. It's hilarious. Folks, look up Folgers brother-sister commercial. And tell me you don't get weird vibes from it. Tell me you don't get them.
So there's the Ron and Sheila audition. Another thing about that one is this is kind of the first time you see what we were talking about earlier, where she has, Catherine O'Hara, all of these really subtle pieces. The one thing that she's doing in that audition is every time Fred Willard is talking, she's mouthing the words that he's saying, which is such like a community theater cliche.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
just brilliant. So again, that's just these little pieces that she's kind of throwing in.
It's more than community theater. It's like it's child actors too. There's like if you look in the final cut of the first Harry Potter movie, Emma Watson is mouthing some of the words that the other actors are doing in the final cut. You can see it. It's in the movie. It's hilarious. It's
I saw someone describe Ron and Sheila on social media recently as two people that love performing but are terrible actors. So that just about says it. They're the pretty perfect, old standbys with Corky. He calls them his, the Lunts of Blaine. So they're just his old, the people that do all his repertory theater type stuff. They have some hilarious kind of B-roll photos of them doing backdraft and that sort of thing.
I think it's so funny because the backdraft, looking at that, the poster of it reminded me so much of Romancing the Stones cover. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like, It's so funny. The little visual gags they give us in this movie are so good. They're so good.
I mean, that's the thing with every Christopher Guest film like this. They have so many little touches, and I would be really fascinated to know if those types of things, I would assume that they actually produce those types of materials after it's improvised in a scene to support what they're saying. You know what I mean? Because I've seen, there was a Christopher Guest quote where he was talking about how they do these films, and he said typically when he goes in front of the camera, he's completely blank. He doesn't know what's going to come out of his mouth at any given point. So I would think that that's how they do it, is almost retrofit it to what
that's
they do.
That's kind of how I am all the time. And I never know what's coming out of this mouth.
I mean, it's a different way of doing films, and it's definitely a way that is going to inevitably take way more time post-production. But it's just, I mean, that is kind of the secret sauce of all these films and why they are so identifiable, you know, in the style that started with this movie. Well, it started with Spinal Tap, but, you know, Christopher Guest kind of puts his own flavor on it that's a little bit different and continues that forward from this point.
He refines the genre a little bit, Jackie. He refines it.
So what other auditions do you want to talk about? So we talked about Ron and Sheila.
I loved Eugene Levy's audition. He is the perfect. I've never done this before, but I'm like a hidden gem, a diamond in the rough. It's so funny. I hadn't seen this movie in a few years, and when we decided to do this episode, I'm gonna watch it again. I'm sitting down watching it. I'm in Eugene's audition, and I'm like, huh. I lean over. I'm watching with my wife. He can actually sing. And immediately I think Lloyd says it he like leans over to Corky and he's like, he can actually sing. And I'm like, oh, you got me. It made me laugh because the movie got me to it got me to think exactly the same thing that eventually a character said. It's like the perfect, oh, Eugene, you did exactly what you were supposed to do. You were supposed to make it look like you couldn't do it and then make me think that, oh, maybe you could be in this, and then immediately the payoff. I loved that. Honestly, just a great moment for me on a rewatch.
So he does like a Stephen Foster medley. He does like Camptown Races. And I Dream of Jeannie and Way Down Upon the Swanee River. And so he's, you know, he does this brilliant thing in this movie where he's this guy that is just kind of burning with this desire to be a performer, but he's so awkward. Like he just can't, you know, he just cannot kind of get out of his shell. He's a dentist, like he's been doing dentistry, but he's always had this hankering, you know, to get into performance. And in that audition, when he's doing that stuff and he's going, look out, when he switches songs, and he's just doing a little dance when he's doing the Camptown Races, but everything is just Jackie, like a little bit boxed in, you know, and awkward.
It's like, in fear of referencing another Christopher Guest film, he's clumsy. He's got two left feet the whole time, Jackie. It's so funny, and he does such a good job that it makes you root for him, even when he does his little Johnny Carson bit.
Yeah, he's the most sympathetic character, I would say, overall. That's a good way of putting it, is he's the one that you're kind of rooting for of anybody, because he's so genuinely trying to do his best, and he's the one that's like
so hard,
the most like maybe, and in a way he's the one that displays the highest level of competence, like when you actually get to the final product. But it's kind of funny, like you have these little moments where everyone's kind of negging him. Like Libby May negs him in an interview. She's like, yeah, Ron and Sheila and me, like we all know, and pretty soon Dr. Pearl, he's gonna know, and he's gonna catch up. Ron is always giving him a hard time. Ron gives everybody a hard time. I mean, can I just say, just a little breakout here, we were talking about Ron and Sheila, and you know, that's Fred Willard and Catherine O'Hara. I will watch Fred Willard in anything he ever
do
does.
Anything.
He is one of the funniest people just doing Fred Willard. Like, he always does just Fred Willard doing Fred Willard. And the most iconic thing, that you'll probably remember him from is Best in Show, when he's actually doing the commentating. He's like the color commentator on the dog show.
What happened?
That's from A Mighty Wind. And he just rattles stuff off. Like, his level of flow when he's just saying random, like telling stories. Like in this one, he's got a story about when he was a football player for the Blaine Panthers, and you can tell he made up the team name Blaine Panthers on the fly. And then he's like, and then the first string quarterback went down. We brought in the second string. And then he went down. We brought in the third string. And then we whipped the pants off of Blessed Heart of Mary, and they went on to win the state championship. And he's just like telling these kind of stories. There's a deleted scene that I'll just talk about now too, where he's reenacting. They're like in the backyard, the Albertsons, and it looks like Sheila is recovering from a hangover. So it's probably after that dinner at the Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
And he's like recreating baseball games from the past, and he's trying to get her to be the pitcher, like to recreate this like 1970 whatever baseball game.
So perfect.
And he's like being the announcer, and he's like, and he has the wind up, and no, you gotta throw it with a little more groove, Sheila. So he's always
classic Fred Willard.
Again, like their whole relationship where he's always kind of trying to correct everything she does. He's always like
just 4 hours of notes for me after 3-4 hours.
Then you also have Parker Posey doing her audition, the teacher's pet bit. I mean,
honestly, it's not like it was a good introduction to a character, but I liked the Dairy Queen stuff so much more for the, do you know what I mean? Where she's just like sort of,
she's almost like it's in the Daria era, so she's almost that kind of vibe, but like obviously from the deep south.
Yeah, it's like almost apathetic, but it's not that. But Daria is a really good way to put it, Jag. It's kind of funny. Daria's really
just kind of like
she is very Daria.
She takes a lot of pauses.
Yeah.
And so she has that, Teacher's Pet song that she does, and it seems like she's just really trying to use her sexual power.
Yeah, it's like she's just trying to...
Which is really funny because, I mean, one of the big jokes, and we could just talk about this, I mean, probably the longest form joke of the movie, and this was a very 90s thing. I'd say that it's not super offensive the way they do it. Some people might disagree with me. In this movie is that Corky St. Clair...
There's going to be people who disagree with you, Jackie.
But Corky St. Clair, like, obviously homosexual, right?
Yeah,
but
he's a closeted homosexual
in Blaine,
man.
Missouri, nobody, I feel like, even has a concept of what that even means. Like, you just get this idea that nobody in the town has it in their mind that anybody can be gay. And so...
Right,
Corky St. Clair, just like the most blatantly, obviously effeminate gay man, always wearing these different, like, very gaudy fashion looks. And, obviously in the closet, but not, anybody with eyes, which is, the audience knows immediately. But that's just one of the jokes that they keep going back to. A lot of the deleted scenes, I think, were deleted in a good way that would have kind of made that, I think, a little bit, it would have aged more poorly. Like, there's this one deleted scene where he's talking about this book that he read called Corky and the Sperm Whale, and then he's just making various jokes off.
That's a little much. But I think the thing that would be the worst for modern generations watching this film is that he's doing a voice, and it's
an effective, like,
and we all know the voice that we're talking about, and that
it's like very sibilant, So it's something that people wouldn't have thought twice about in the 90s. I guarantee you, if you made this movie today, you would either get an actually
you'd hire a gay actor,
or you would change your approach, ever so slightly.
It would be, it wouldn't be that he was gay. It would be some sort of other, like, modern taboo.
Yeah.
Not saying that being gay is taboo, but at the time in film it was. So it's just the Overton window has shifted, and now I think that people would consider his performance maybe a little bit insensitive.
I still think that it's not played in a way where he's making fun of
it's not
Corky's sexuality. And in fact, Corky throughout the film is a pretty non-sexual person. He doesn't there's not anything from that standpoint
not part of it
that is weird. It's just like, that is ever present in the film. And part of that,
it's the representation thing, Jackie. That's the.
We'll get to that in a bit, but representation in this film is basically just not there.
It's the 90s in the United States.
Yeah.
So
and also all of the people that were making this film were like close friends.
Right.
They weren't setting out with a committee to get the perfect mixture of people. We'll talk about that, I think, in a little bit. But anything else about the auditions? We already talked about Bob Odenkirk. The other thing we could talk about is you have these short snippets where there's the guy that's like blowing the balls out of his mouth. You know what I mean? He's like catching the balls and then he chokes.
Yeah.
You've got the guy who does the scene from Raging Bull, which is very funny, where he's just like.
Yeah. He's doing
It's got to be the only reason why this movie is rated R. I can't think of another reason why it would be rated R.
Oh, yeah. Because
just the fact that he's got like 3 or 4 F-bombs in a row in that scene. And then you got this guy singing, that song, When I See Lips Waiting to Be, that whole thing. So you have those, and then the Bob Odenkirk one was cut. The Bob Odenkirk deleted scene, he's like dressed as some weird stylized like vampire.
He's like a vampire,
doing like a weird song. And like the first time I saw it, I wasn't even aware that it was Odenkirk. And then I saw that video in a different YouTube video where the title of it was like Bob Odenkirk as, and I was like, I didn't know that was him. And because the first time I saw it, it's like, that makes sense that they cut that.
That's one of the Mr. Shows.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
Okay, so that's the auditions. The next one I had is just the scene where he's asking for more money. And the whole council of the town thinks that he's joking, and then he, basically tells him off in a very funny way. I think that's probably the funniest Corky reaction. And then going into Sad Corky and that whole scene of everybody trying to get him back involved. I think that stretch is one of my favorite parts.
I was gonna say, like, I called it sort of the rehearsal section. I like the dynamic of, I like those parts too, but my favorite part was the dynamic between Corky and Lloyd, where when Corky decides to like sort of step away for a moment and Lloyd takes back over and he tries to get he goes into rehearsal, everybody's talking, he tries to get a handle on everybody. He obviously doesn't have anybody's respect. He's the music director who wants to come back and take charge, and he's serious about this, and he's about to put his foot down, and he's like, Corky's gone, we're gonna hammer down, we're gonna start doing rehearsals, I'm on piano, here we go, and everybody immediately leaves.
It's a hard cut to them all running to Corky's apartment. That's part of what I'm talking about. Yeah, that whole stretch.
I love it. I just think it's
they can't take this guy who's actually trying to give them like a structured rehearsal schedule.
Right. Absolutely not. We need Corky back.
And I think he's one of the most underrated parts in the film.
I think
Bob
so
Balaban
too,
is the music director. He plays like
so
the straightest type of straight man the whole time. So
just so disappointed when they leave. He's like,
and he also says something in kind of a throwaway earlier in the movie, like he has kind of put on this production every single year, but now that they've got this big sesquicentennial 150th anniversary, they're taking it away from him, and now they're giving it to Corky, who's this guy who came from New York, so he's got this
from New York.
Everybody looks at him as like this big star. Like that's one of the funniest parts about the movie too, is like everyone just looks at Corky as like he's just the best. He's like the bee's knees. There's certain characters in particular. We were talking about
one of that councilman
character, Steve, and just like he's the one that they're always flashing to him in the crowd, and he's like he's crying.
It's Corky's so amazing.
And earlier in the film, he's talking about like, you know, I do restocking at my job on the day of the auditions, so I can't make it. And Corky said, well, that's just show business, but I really wish I could be in it. He like really wants to be in it, and he's like obsessed with Corky. He actually makes Corky's eyes like, at Corky absolutely too. Not. I think he's also a closet guy.
I think that was the implication too.
So he's like just very, you know, wanting to rub elbows with Corky the whole time. And then do you have any other scenes that you want to mention before we get to the show?
No, the next thing was just the Broadway promise when he gets the note. I thought that when he like pulls the note out, but that's not nearly as good as the performance. I was going to skip that to go to the performance.
Yeah, so the show, I mean, the original cut of the movie, there was like a 40-minute version of the show.
Kept it.
I'm telling you, I would have...
Should have kept it.
There should at least be like a director's cut where they just have the full thing. Because I got to tell you, when you look at the deleted scenes, there were entire deleted musical numbers and deleted like acting scenes that were part of it that are all funny. And one of the funniest parts about the show, let's just talk kind of broad strokes. So let's go kind of character by character. You've got Corky, who, you know, there's this character called Johnny Savage. I think we'll get into him more in the next category, but basically he's part of it for a while, and basically only because he's pretty good looking. And then he has to drop out of the show. He has to drop out. Corky kind of takes on his part. You got kind of a producers-ish situation where it's like all of a sudden someone can't do the part. Corky
broke his leg.
In. And so this kind of hunk type character is now replaced by this very effeminate gay man. And part of Corky's thing on stage is his voice and his demeanor basically doesn't change part to part. So he's like this acting legend or whatever in their eyes, but he literally... all of his lines, he turns and looks out to the audience as he says it, and it's like all in his like very affected voice, and it's all like it's just this very like particular way. And again, it's
and the makeup is hilarious.
His eyeliner,
his eyeliner is.
And his
insane.
haircut just throughout. He's got this bowl cut that
is
always there. Like he never wears wigs.
And is also, I mean, it is a hairpiece. I think it's trying to be a hairpiece.
You would think. So you got Corky, and basically everybody's performance is kind of bouncing off of that because it's the collision of, you can see what the show maybe would have been with a more serious dramatic actor, like a leading man type, and then all of a sudden you have Corky trying to fit into his costumes, and that's where a lot of the comedy comes in kind of internally in all the scenes. Then you've got Dr. Pearl. So Eugene Levy's character, he is usually kind of the leading guy from a character actor standpoint. Like he's the Blaine Fabin, so he plays the settler. He plays the alien that comes down when they've got that scene. And then is that it for him? Is that the only thing that made it in the final film?
In the final, yeah. It's just
he plays the reporter that's talking to President McKinley as well.
Oh, yeah, but you were telling me in the deleted scenes he plays more and more. Like he has to do costume changes and stuff.
Well, so there's a deleted scene that has everybody in it where it's like the river floods, and it's a song called "This Bulging River," and it's the whole thing. We can get into that a little.
Great
bit more
name.
Later, you got to check it out. It's a fantastic number, and it has actually some of my favorite Catherine O'Hara in the whole like show within the show. She does this like really affected like southernish voice because she's like a mama type character, and I'm pretty sure that Eugene Levy in that scene, it's like she does like a very southern voice where she's like, oh, hush, like that kind of thing. And then Eugene Levy, in the same scene, he plays a farmer, and all of a sudden he's got like a very like New England Yankee type accent. And then Fred Willard comes in as some kind of like, he's like a father that's him and his son are laying sandbags down to try to stop the water from coming, and Corky obviously is the son, and he's talking about how his father has taught him to, you know, just to get bales of hay collected, to work hard, to love a woman, and he's talking about all this stuff. So that is probably one of my favorite deleted scenes. So yeah, Eugene Levy is in that as kind of that weird farmer. And then obviously the big joke with his character in the show is that when it's in the early time when he's playing Blaine Fabin, Corky says that it's not historically accurate.
It's historically accurate to wear the glasses.
So he's like, well, I actually, I can't see very well without my glasses, and so that's one of the big jokes. Is he
and then he has I have a like severe lazy eye.
I have a severe lazy eye that these prescription glasses help correct. And so
and then he immediately, it's so good.
I have a something later, but I'll talk about it now. So that scene where he comes out with the lazy eye. And then Ron, Fred Willard's character, says, "One of your keen and perceptive eyes behold."
Yeah.
And like, so basically Fred Willard didn't know that he was going to do the cross-eye thing. So he literally, when he saw that, like, they had to stop production for 10 minutes because he couldn't stop laughing. Like, he had no idea that he was going to do that. Because he got it, like, for the first time. Like, he knew that his line was, like,
in reference to another, yeah.
Ron and Sheila, they are typically just kind of extra characters.
I was going to say townspeople, basically.
He does play Fred Willard's Ron plays President McKinley on the Whistle Stop tour with the whole stool thing. And yeah, so they're mostly kind of more ensemble type characters. Libby Mae Brown, her big thing she plays like
it's like the love interest.
Yeah, the love interest. And in the Penny for Your Thoughts, she's like, they do like a semi-balletic situation.
And in one of the numbers, the little lift, I love that in the rehearsals they show with the original with Johnny Savage, him lifting her, and it's like he just like spins her real easy, and then when she jumps into Corky's arms, he's like, oh God. It's so good. Oh, the choreography is so hilarious.
And just some of her line readings, like in the very first one with the Blaine Fabin stuff, before Blaine comes in on the horse. They're talking about, I don't think we'll ever get to California.
Oh, yeah.
And that's like Catherine O'Hara's doing that. And then Parker Posey's like, oh, we'll get there. Blaine Fabin will lead us there. And just like the way that they approach the lines. And like Catherine O'Hara, every time that she says anything in these scenes, she's like, cheating out massively.
Yeah, it's like her whole body does like an angle. It's so good. That's like, but again, folks, if you've been in community theater, you know all of these people. You've met them before. Yeah. They're in your Rolodex.
And then you've got the narrator guy. So that's the Louis Arquette, I believe. So the character is Clifford Woolley, who he basically just pulls out of a trailer park at some point, and he's like, hey, I think you'd be really great for this character, the narrator. And this guy is like just a weird, like, he's in a trailer, he does taxidermy.
He's sort of a recluse. Yeah, he's just like off on his own. He's like, you think I can do it?
So it's kind of random. They don't go too much into his whole backstory. It's like he's super underdeveloped, but in the show, he's kind of just managing the transitions between the scenes. And then I think it's really funny that just at the end, he's like, first of all, the way he starts, he's like, "Oh, I didn't see her sneak up on me there," and then he just starts talking about beans for like a minute.
Yeah, you gotta start heating up some beans.
Sweet, hot, juicy beans. Well, if you get me started talking about beans, I'll be jabbering till the sun comes up.
And that's like a laugh line for the entire audience. They're like, "Oh, of course you'd be jabbering till the sun comes up."
That's one of the funniest parts is the audience is completely on board the whole
entire time
and raptured. Just like everybody is so into it.
It's the best theater I've ever seen.
And obviously throughout the show, you've got the empty chair, which we think as the audience, and they think that that's where Guffman is supposed to be. And
waiting for Guffman.
Do you think that was actually Guffman's reserved seat, or this guy who you find out is Roy Loomis down the line? He was just there because I think his niece had a baby or something like that. Was that reserved for him, or did he just sit in the reserved seat?
I think it was reserved for Guffman, and I think he was given the reserved seat after a certain.
So you think the production assistant maybe got the note, "Oh, it doesn't need to be reserved anymore," and then she just withheld that note until after the show, apparently, which I guess is kind of understandable, because why would you give it? Corky's a little busy now. He's not only directing, but also he's in the show.
I have an even hotter take about that whole situation, but we should leave.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Jackie.
Oh, and by the way, you see this? This is Mia Farrow over here.
That's Mia. Oh, hey, Mia.
Mia's here. Hey, Mia, you want to come on camera really quick?
Get me on the podcast.
See, Mia's got
that's
this
Mia.
little fantasy football legend. She's ready for the Super Bowl.
Ready for the bowl.
You ready for the Super Bowl?
No, she's ready for a Super Bowl of food. Jack, you better get it to her.
Well, it's not time. It's not time. See? It's not time yet.
Sorry. 5:30.
Not time.
5:30, Mia.
Yep.
5:30's dinner.
We got to get through some of this stuff, and we still haven't gotten to Demerits, Mia. We got to get to the
Demerits.
Okay.
We got to get to the Demerits.
Anything else on the show?
No, Jackie. I think we should move on to the Demerits.
All right. So we did nothing but the best. Let's move on to the Demerits. And my first one is real simple. There should have been more show. Okay?
More show?
Lack of additional show is one of my demerits.
I agree with you. One of my demerits, Jackie, I wanted more Lloyd.
More Lloyd?
I needed more Lloyd. I wanted more conflict with Lloyd and Corky. I thought that, the straight man and, the character playing off each other the whole time, I needed, maybe 2 minutes more of screen time of both of them being in conflict with one another. That's what I want.
Yeah, I think if you sat down and actually wrote a script or more kind of story moments, you would have absolutely had more of that. I think since they just, captured kind of what happened in the natural flow of things, they just, that was a subplot. But once you got to the point where Corky came back, it's like Lloyd was just kind of on the shelf.
Yeah.
He shows up as the conductor, but, that's about it. One of mine was the cast diversity. We talked about that. So not a very diverse cast. It's a lot of white people. This was filmed in a town called Lockhart, Texas. So you would think that there would be more Latinos maybe. It is kind of near Austin, which is, fairly diverse college town. So there could have just been a little bit more, a little bit more diversity in terms of that. And then, like we talked about, some people will be offended by the fact that you got a straight man who not only is married to Jamie Lee Curtis, but also is a low level of British, noble. Did you know that? Christopher Guest is like a fifth baron of something or other.
Oh, I like him so much less now. That's not true.
Well, but his seat was dissolved in 1999. But at this time, he was still actually a British lord who had some sort of responsibility in the House of Lords. So, wild.
Well, good for him, Jackie. It's funny that you say that was your second demerit, because I have mine in sort of it's in a one word, but you said it better in more words. Dated. It is of its time. I love the movie, but we said it before and we'll say it again. if it were made today, you wouldn't make it the same way because of just how theater and film has moved and how our, just conception of how films should be and how they should reflect our society.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. But if you know that coming in, I think you're going to enjoy it regardless.
Having said that as well, I think the lack of diversity is part of the point in a lot of ways of this small town in Missouri where they've never seen a homosexual. There's a deleted scene where Alan Pearl and his wife are talking about how they're the only Jews in town, and they have to go to Jefferson City to get a moil and stuff. So that lack of diversity and that small town thing is kind of part of it. I don't know how intentional it was to almost literally have no people of color even in the audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jackie, I honestly think, again, it was the time. It wasn't even a thought. It was one of those things where, I'm going to get a group of my friends together. I have an idea for all these roles. We're going to film it. I'm not going to take another thought about if I should involve other people in the movie. It wasn't even a...
The next one I'll go to, the next demerit for me is Dr. Pearl's Johnny Carson bit. That's not great.
Yeah.
In terms of, honoring Native Americans. I think this is another piece that a lot of people from younger generations might choose this as the moment to turn it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sort of makes his skin crawl a little bit when he says wigwam.
I mean, he also says another word before that that's even more offensive, some would say. But he is also quoting a Johnny Carson bit.
Oh, it is a direct quote. Yeah.
It's, again, I can watch this kind of stuff and understand the context. Some people aren't able to do that. It's, again, if this was made today, he would not be saying that stuff. There would be a whole other bit. And also, that is kind of part of what illustrates how awkward Dr. Pearl is, because he's just kind of doing these bits off the cuff while he's in his dentist's office, and he's smiling
completely
to himself,
out of place,
trying to think of more bits that he can do.
He knows Johnny Carson is funny, but he doesn't know why Johnny Carson is funny. So he just pulls out a bit because he knows that people laugh at Johnny Carson and he wants to be funny. And it is not the right time. Very inappropriate.
So this is something that I don't have listed anywhere, but you just made me think of it, is when he says, people always ask me, were you the class clown? And I say, no, I wasn't. But I sat beside the class clown, and I studied him. Just some of the stuff that Eugene Levy does. I mean, all of the main cast, all of the primary people have these moments like that. It's when they come back to me, when I think of it, it's there are so many moment to moment, so many little things that are just brilliant.
Yeah, genius.
Okay.
And to think that most of it is improvised and they're just sort of going and you're like, oh God, they're so good.
And you wonder what was left on the cutting room floor, because, I do that sort of stuff where we capture film at our shows, and it's you try to remember the best pieces, but there's probably stuff that, just gets lost that you can't find it again because there's just so much to go through. My next demerit, this is my last demerit, Johnny Savage.
Yeah.
The entire film could have possibly even been better without Johnny Savage.
Cut him out, Jackie. We need to cut him out of the film.
I think that the only thing that he was good for, the one thing that he serviced was getting Corky on the stage. That is kind of his usage. I thought
you were going to say because he looked so good.
Well, that's part of the point, too. And that's, I think, another thing, especially if you were trying to update this movie, another reason to take him out is part of the joke with Johnny Savage is that Corky clearly just wants to get him into the show because he thinks that he's very handsome. So there's,
very handsome.
there's no like weird stuff. I feel like if this was made in the early 2000s or the Entourage era, you could easily see the Corky character getting like handsy with him or something. There's none of that, which I'm very
Could you imagine a Waiting for Guffman Euro trip? Like,
yeah. Which is funny because Eugene Levy went, and he was kind of part of all those American Pies and stuff kind of shortly after this. And that's how a lot of people found out about him, is because he was the dad in American Pie. Any other demerits for you?
Honestly, Jackie, no. I want Lloyd. I just need more Lloyd.
More Lloyd.
Give me more Lloyd.
Let's go to some questions. So.
Oh, I got questions.
Yeah, I got 5 here, okay? I have way less questions than normal. Fewer questions than normal.
I have fewer questions, too.
So, one of these... You
go first.
I already went over this one, so I'll just say it.
Well, why don't you start going now? Why don't go?
Is this movie only rated R because of the Raging Bull guy? I couldn't figure out any other reason why it would be rated R.
I mean, maybe if there was another deleted scene in there when they, like, went through to the Motion Picture Association and they were like, check this out, maybe they cut something, but that's the only thing that I could think of.
I really don't think so. And again, it was a different time, so a lot of the stuff that wouldn't fly today made it in the final cut, and so I don't think it was anything like that. The only thing I can think of is he says like 4 or 5 F-bombs in a row.
It's got to be the swears, Jackie.
And what's weird is this is actually the only Christopher Guest movie that gets an R rating. Every single other one, I'm pretty sure, is PG-13.
Huh.
And I think a lot of the other ones get a little racier than Waiting for Guffman. Yeah. So it's kind of bizarre. That just kind of shows how weird our rating system is.
I was literally just thinking of the Jane Lynch line in A Mighty Wind where she's like, I met the band leader.
Which one?
No, the band leader of the in A Mighty Wind, when because she plays the mandolin, and she's like, I was found because I played the mandolin on an adult feature called Not So Tiny Tim. And it's like, they don't do anything overtly sexual like that in Waiting for Guffman.
Right.
And that's one like weird little line that I remember from the movie, and it's like, it's way worse than anything anyone said in Waiting for Guffman, and that's pretty tame.
My next question, how could a city's budget only be $15K for the whole year?
Yeah, Jackie, I don't know. That's a low budget. I think they were just trying to solidify how small of a town it was.
I think it was just off the cuff. You just picked a number, and it's just, you got to put it in because that's just what you got. But, I mean, if you investigate that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. How old was the probe guy when he got probed? So there's this scene where you got Paul Dooley, who shows up in A Mighty Wind as well. And basically, this is the only scene that he's in, is he's being interviewed as a guy who got taken on the famous alien ship that landed in Blaine, and he says that basically someone came in, probed him, and then a bunch of these aliens came in and probed him one after another. So the joke is that, clearly he probably was just put in a room, and you can let your mind kind of color in the lines there. But basically, the timing to me just doesn't make sense if he's talking about that 1946 landing, because if we assume that they're in 1946, that's 50 years between then and then. So he would have to be a minimum of, I would say, 68 for it to be palatable. He doesn't look 68. I think he's younger than that. So the timing, I'm just not sure about that. Again, it's one of those kind of off the cuff things that when you think about it, doesn't make sense. It's probably just because of the improvisation.
Yeah.
Could you have cut Johnny Savage from the movie entirely? We talked about that. I think you could, and it would still play fine. You could just sub in some other reason for why Corky has to get in there. Could have had a whole different setup to that. Yeah. And then my last question, what is with the pit orchestra? So you got
the instrumentation
that's playing, various xylophones and timpanis, And
the trumpet simultaneously.
And I don't know how many. Did they just like score it for the exact instrumentalists that are in the town because they just don't have enough for a standard kind of pit orchestra?
Yeah, they were like, who plays what instruments? Sign this sheet. And then they wrote it for them.
And I mean, another thing on that is we were talking about this kind of yesterday, but as I'm watching this more and more, and it really stood out to me the last time that I watched it, it's pretty clear that a lot of the instruments are actually synthesized, and, you know, they're just kind of recreating it in the live shot. Obviously, they're not taking the live sound from that. But, you know, that's something that never stood out to me before. It seems like they pasted in a lot of the parts, but what's pretty amazing about what they did is they really matched to the instruments that were present. It's just hard to imagine. I've never seen like a lead trumpet player also doing an entire battery of different types of percussion.
Yeah, you know? I was not. Your lead trumpet player is normally not your auxiliary percussion player too.
Yeah. And he's like playing the final high note while he's also doing timpani. That would affect your embouchure, like
severely.
Yeah.
Your entire. Oh, Jackie. I got some questions.
Okay, go for your questions.
I got some questions.
That was all my questions.
So the whole UFO subplot, I loved it. I loved the David Cross. I love the probes. What was the point of that? Why did we do it at all? You didn't need any. I know that there's a UFO thing and an alien part of the musical, but they cut so many other musical numbers from the show. They could have cut the alien one and kept a different one in and never mention aliens at all. Is it just because they were like small town?
I think at the end of the day, they had to pick three, and they chose the Blaine Fabin settlers, they chose the stool capital of the world, and they chose the alien, you know, thing.
Yeah, but I just, like, again, I love the UFO scenes. I'm actually glad that they kept them in. That's why I didn't put it in my demerits. But to me, in the same way that, God, I keep forgetting his name, Johnny or whatever.
Johnny Savage.
Johnny Savage. We didn't really need anything about the UFOs. We didn't need any of the information. You could have simply said, yeah, there's some UFO sightings in that initial introduction when they're going through the history of the town, and never do the scenes. Then again, love you, David Cross. Yeah. Great scenes. I don't want them to be cut. It just doesn't, like, you don't need them. It's back, sort of fluff.
The David Cross scene is, again, I think one of those scenes that you could just pluck out of the movie, out of context.
Yeah, you could just...
And it would just be something that would run on social media and be very
right,
funny.
But that's part of the reason why it's like, is that why they kept it in? Did they keep it in because it's so funny? Or were they keeping it in because it's like... The crop circle thing and the belief in aliens is definitely like a small town trope. I
think at the end of the day, it was mostly down to the show within a show, and they're definitely going to have this alien scene, so they had to set it up. You know, I think they looked backward from what they decided was going to be in the show, which is interesting because this bulging river, the flood thing. Obviously, since that wasn't in the show, you don't hear about the flood. But I guarantee you that they had a lot of interviews about the flood that didn't make
flood material.
Yeah, the flood. It's like Halo, you know.
Yeah. Oh, don't. Anyway, I have another question. I talked a lot about Lloyd and Corky and their dynamic together.
Yeah.
But my question is, so Lloyd has been doing it for a bunch of years before, Corky's doing it now. Why does anybody put up with any of them? Lloyd is way too serious. Obviously nobody likes him. Why does anybody put up with Lloyd? Corky, I get like but he's like not it. He's very aloof. anybody who's done theater before would be like, this isn't getting anything done. How does anybody put up with either of these guys? Jackie, how would you put up with these guys?
I think that's just one of the conceits of the film is everybody loves Corky, everybody hates Lloyd. They just decided that. And it's against,
I love Lloyd.
It's against all evidence. It's like,
right.
If you were actually in this situation, I mean, the funny thing is, I could literally see people behaving exactly that way, where they would love Corky because he lets them do kind of whatever.
Do whatever they want. Stuff. Yeah.
He lets them kind of go crazy. And Lloyd's like, hey, we actually got to learn these lines. We got to like practice the dances, because there's one of the rehearsal scenes where they're rehearsing the stool song, and everything just falls apart. Nobody really knows what they're doing. And that's when Lloyd pulls Corky aside.
We gotta
that's
start
one of the great moments. He's just like
structuring these rehearsals.
I really think that we need to, just maybe take some extra time for. He's like, why don't you talk louder?
Why don't you talk? Don't you want to talk?
In front of, you want me to talk louder? Now that's too loud. Just talk like a normal person.
Talk like a normal person. It's so good, Jackie. It's just so good.
Any other questions for you?
Honestly, my last question is, what software did they use to make that music? You talked about the MIDI stuff. I was listening back. I went on the Logic after watching this movie, Jackie. What MIDI horns were they using? Because somebody's got to send me the sound package, because every MIDI horn that I've ever heard doesn't have a very crisp, like, articulation on the beat. Like, horns have an abrupt start generally, right? It's like a very and most MIDI sounds go like, wah, you know what I mean? They like fade into it, and those didn't. Hey, send me those sounds. What are the sounds?
I would imagine that it was just some kind of high-powered synthesizer. I would be surprised if it was actually software at that time.
Maybe a little Moog. Could have been a Moog.
They have a lot of tools because of the whole Spinal Tap thing. You just know that these guys are doing with instruments, so they probably had a lot of tools available.
Hey, Christopher Guest, send me all of your instrument stuff.
Send me the instrument stuff, Christopher. And why don't you send in the clowns while we're at it? We're going to talk about the funniest part here, okay?
The funniest part? Yeah. I'll tell you what the funniest part is.
All right, what's the funniest
part? When
part?
David Cross thinks Blaine is spelled with 6 letters or 5 letters.
It's like, there's 5
it's spelled
letters
with 6
in the
and there's 5 letters.
Blaine.
And if you rearrange them, what it's like...
mix them up together. You get Nabali.
The name of a planet. Really far away. It's, again, you could put... We talked about this. I don't necessarily think it needed to be in the movie, but boy, did I laugh. And the other thing, when he's like, the radius changes, but the circumference and the diameter stay the same.
It's like the circumference and the diameter change by a few inches every year, but the radius remains the same.
It's so funny. He's so funny.
It's always 67 degrees with a 40% chance of rain. Always. Which would be incredible to have a winter in Missouri where in this circle it's 67 degrees. I mean, that would be national news. Yeah. So that's part of what's funny is like, is the 5 letters thing just him riffing and getting it wrong in real time? Or is it, because the thing is, you could fit it into this guy, you know, because everything he's saying
it's off the wall, Jackie.
It's just like mathematically impossible. So is it just another thing to add to that
I wouldn't
list,
put it.
Or is it,
I wouldn't put it past any of these actors, but especially David Cross, to have been like, this man is an idiot and doesn't say anything that's true. Therefore, when I say how many letters Blaine is, it can't be the correct amount. I wouldn't put it past him. Although, if it's some serendipitous improvisational. Good for him, because it made me belly laugh during the film.
So I have a bunch written here. I'm going to kind of narrow it down in my head here, and I'm going to just give you two. I'm going to cheat a little bit. The first one,
Jackie.
So I have written down here everything that Catherine O'Hara and Fred Willard do, but if I had to narrow that down to a single moment, I would do the Midnight at the Oasis audition. I just think
the audition
is perfect. It's such an iconic little scene that transcends this film, because people in the aftermath of Catherine O'Hara passing away, I was shocked at how prevalent this scene was around, because I just didn't know.
It was the first thing that I saw.
Yeah, exactly. So just, one of those things where even if somebody has never seen this film, they've probably seen that part of it. And then the other thing is just Corky in the show. Everything Corky does in the show that is just like a juxtaposition from everybody else's performance. Like him saying, they're doing the kind of hoedown, and then he just says, "Everybody dance." And then and then he's like the doughboy from World War I in that scene with Parker Posey. He's the stool boy. He's like, "Here's a stool. I make them." Just looking out to the audience,
and like so wide-eyed and like.
He has some brilliant deleted scenes too. I talked about the bulging river song, where he's talking about all these things that he got that his father has taught him. There's a scene where President McKinley goes into a room of dignitaries, and you got like the King of France played by Eugene Levy, and you got Catherine O'Hara's in there. I think she's German, and then you got Christopher Guest is playing the King of England, but he just says it in his Corky voice, like, "I like this stool too, and I'm the King of England." And it's funny because Christopher Guest is actually obviously English, so he's that's part of it as well. So let's go to the way you look tonight. The best dressed.
There's only one look for me, Jackie. There's only one look for me in the whole film.
If you had the same one. So go ahead.
I think we may have the same one. It's from the iconic scene you were just mentioning before, the matching track suits.
That's one of mine. So I have two written down, and that's definitely one of them. It's
Jackie.
The one that wins for sure. But we cannot have this section and not mention Corky, because Corky changes into some pretty wild outfits.
So many costumes.
There's a lot to go through, but the two, I'd say the most iconic is the one that's the cover of the film, his little dance outfit,
yellow shirt,
where his midriff is like, not exposed,
very low,
but he's got like this little itty bitty vest on top, and he's got like the mustard yellow shirt.
Yeah, the shirt that's like tucked into really low rise jeans with a loose belt.
Like weird like hip hop experimentation moves. It's very bizarre. And and the other one is his little Music Man getup that he's in.
Yeah.
But he's in it at the end. I think he's also in it at the beginning. He's in it in a few of the deleted scenes as well.
I love the Music Man references too, because you mentioned like the rehearsal styles, like he's so aloof, he doesn't do anything, there's no structure, and then it falls together at the very end. Very Music Man.
Yeah.
It's funny, it's like it's Music Man, it's Waiting for Godot, it's a bunch he's pulling from all these different things, and it works so well together.
Let's go to casting crooners. So what do you got for your crooner cast?
Oh, Jackie, you're going to love this. I got Bing Crosby as the titular Corky.
He'd make a Corky.
Oh, yeah. Could you imagine Bing as Corky,
Jackie? The sad thing is, now that you say that, I can't imagine him trying to do that.
I
mean, it reminds me of the whole sisters thing from White Christmas.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Jackie.
He would definitely give it his best try.
He would give it a college try, Jackie.
Okay. What else you got?
Dean is going to be Ron. Dino is going to be Ron. I
have Dean as Ron as well. We agree.
Only because Lion Renault is going to be Sheila. Okay. The French singer who did the Two Sleepy People duet that I showed you the other day.
Very good.
And Nancy Sinatra is going to play Libby because we need a young lady coming in to be Libby.
Nancy Sinatra is Libby.
And then Sammy Davis Jr., Jackie, he's Dr. Pearl.
Oh, I had the same thing. Sammy Davis is Dr. Pearl.
Gotta be. Sammy Davis is Dr. Pearl.
Did you have Frank anywhere?
See, I did not cast
It was hard to cast Frank in this one, but I did find a spot for him.
Well, the thing is, I thought to me, he would either be the mayor because he's the chairman of the board, or he's going to be the historian that sort of tells everybody.
I had him as the mayor.
Yeah,
I had him as the mayor.
Those are the only two he could be.
Only because he's the only one that I could putting him in this film. He can't be any member of the cast because he's just not. It's too goofy. But he does have that kind of gravitas and that, the ability to kind of lead. So I could see him as the mayor. And then the only difference I had from you, I didn't cast a Libby, but I did cast Peggy Lee as Sheila. So similar. Oh, just a different duet pairing from
different duet pairing.
So I had Peggy Lee. Let's go to sequel ideas. So the best is yet to come. What would happen in your sequel? And, obviously we talked about the fact that you could look at Mascots as a sort of sequel because the
spiritual
character of
sequel.
Corky St. Clair is in that film, and they're 20 years apart. It came 20 years after Waiting for Guffman.
In my sequel, I would like for Corky to continue working in his shop in New York, but then get wind of this hot new play that needs a director, and it happens to have the same amount of parts that his old group of people need. And he calls upon his ragtag group of players to come to New York and put on a show off Broadway, but this time Guffman's really there, and this time Guffman's waiting for them. Huh?
Guffman is waiting.
Guffman's waiting.
I like it. So is this like a fantasy sequel where all the people are still alive, I'm assuming?
All the people, fantasy sequel, everybody's still alive. It's just like they pop back in and it's...
So how long after, how many years have passed in the world of Waiting for Guffman?
In the world of Waiting for Guffman, I'd like it to be 5 years.
Okay.
It's he's sort of made his, made his way in New York. He's maybe sort of dejected. He's like, I'm going to stay in this shop. I haven't quite made what I want to make myself here. And then maybe Guffman's the one who even approaches him, and it's like, it's my show that I want you to produce. And then he brings in all of the players from Blaine, and then he's like, and it turns out to be a very similar situation where it sort of rocks, but instead of it being awkward, it's like you level it up one more and make it it's super awkward getting there, but then at the end it's ooh, stellar performance.
So I just called mine Guffman Returns, but
that's good.
I don't have any reason why it would be called that. So my idea is that Red, White, and Blaine becomes a TikTok sensation after clips from the original performance make their way online. An elderly Corky, so this is present day, so you'd have an actual 78-year-old Christopher Guest. He has to assemble a new cast to do Red, White, and Blaine. And that cast, I got Daniel Levy as, he's carrying on the legacy. Yeah. I got Jason Sudeikis in the Ron slot. I got Rose Byrne, Rose Byrne in the Sheila slot. I got Haley Steinfeld as Libby,
Okay, Jackie, all right.
And then the guy who gives us absolutely nothing, just sits there and, is kind of there. Tom Blythe from People We Meet on Vacation.
Yeah. I thought you were going to hit me with a Timothy Chalamet, Jackie.
Literally, that's the first thing I wrote. I decided to be polite.
Don't do it.
You can't just put Chalamet in the Johnny Savage spot.
No, you can't just put Chalamet in the Savage spot. You can say what you want about Chalamet,
but you're not going to ignore him. That's why I put Tom Blythe in there, because
it is true. You're never going to ignore him. You can't help but look,
he's
unfortunately.
A lightning rod.
You're forced to look at him. You have to. There's pretty much no movie that's being released anymore.
I was trying to avoid you talking about Chalamet by putting Tom Blythe in there, because you can't say anything about Tom Blythe. He's just hanging around.
I saw the Chalamet twinkle in your eye, and then I had to say it. I had to bring it up, Jackie.
Well, let's go to something
we should
stupid.
Move on, Jackie.
Let's go to the random facts, stupid. Okay?
Oh, Jackie, random facts.
I've got a bunch here.
Oh, my God.
Why don't you list yours, and then I'll skip the ones that we share.
I was going to say, there's a lot of times people were breaking character in this. Corky, when he was doing his silly dance, shut down production for a little bit.
That Levy couldn't stop laughing at his dance moves, so they had to put him in the back of all those scenes.
Right, it's like literally...
He kept on breaking character. Yeah. Go ahead.
We already talked about Bob Odenkirk being like a surprise little pop-in.
Yep.
Bob Balaban was supposed to play the piano.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was supposed to be in the band, but they switched him to being just the conductor.
Yeah, it's probably easier to get, it's just probably easier to get his face. Like, if he was playing the piano, I can see why they did that. It's hard to articulate, but like him at the piano and also being the leader of the pit orchestra, it's just a better visual, if anything else, to have him, in the conductor role.
No, for sure. I agree. The actors for the auditions, Christopher Guest gave them the songs, but he didn't give them any direction on how to do the auditions. Mm-hmm. So all of the auditions are the songs picked by Christopher Guest, but the actor's interpretation. Okay. And I thought that was kind of funny.
So I didn't have that I didn't know that he provided them, but I did know and have written down that was their first actual public performance of that material. So it was like a real performance.
See, I didn't know that. That's so interesting. And I said this before, but Martin Short expressed a lot of interest in being in the movie. I think, what did it say? I think he wanted to be Ron.
That would have not worked at all. I can't imagine anybody else in that role. And it just becomes a different film if Fred Willard is not. I mean, you remove any of them, but especially Ron and Sheila, if you change either of those, it's just a completely different film.
Yeah. So it's funny, I'm like reading more of this quote that I was looking up for Martin Short, and Christopher Guest, because of their previous relationship, was talking to Martin about it, and Martin was like, yeah, great, when do I start? And Christopher Guest was like, actually, no, I'm trying to find a bunch of people who aren't immediately recognizable.
Yeah.
So Martin Short was basically cut from Guffman, essentially, because he was too recognizable.
Yeah. That makes sense. It is funny, though, because all of the, everybody except for Johnny Savage and the narrator, I would say, are pretty recognizable for the most part. And even some of the bit players are very recognizable. Anything else from you?
I think I had one more. I have to scroll up. Hold on in my notes. Oh. Like, a lot of the actors are on... or in interviews said their characters, and we talked about this before, we were saying them. The people they're playing, they're based on people that they knew. Like Catherine O'Hara had said that there were multiple people that she's referencing that she had met growing up in acting that she's emulating.
Yeah.
They're basing these people off of people they've met in real life or stereotypes of people they've met in real life.
Right.
And I find that so funny. I don't know if you're aware, this is sort of a tangent, but like Seth MacFarlane, Family Guy, Peter Griffin's voice is based on a person that Seth MacFarlane knew. And like his whole attitude, it's all... And I just think it's so funny and that's maybe why it feels so real, because they're emulating ways real people have acted around them, and they do such a good job. I'm going to say it one more time. You're convinced that they are real community theater players when you're watching them do this. They're so good at what they do that they can make it look like they're not good at what they're doing. It's like another level above just acting. It's like acting at being bad at acting. It's great. An incredible... I'm so glad, Jackie, that you suggested this one for the Catherine O'Hara rest in peace episode.
I don't know if you could call it a hidden gem, but I think in the oeuvre of her career, it really is, because the first ones you're going to go to are the Beetlejuices and the Home Alones and that sort of thing, and the Schitt's Creek, in the modern day. So this is kind of like sandwich right in the middle, but it's, I think, if you were going to do like a college course on Catherine O'Hara, this would be you'd have to have this in there. So I just got a couple of ones that you...
My wife has an acting teacher who purports this to be her favorite movie of all time. And folks, if you are interested in performance, if you're interested, it is just so much joy to watch these auditions and watch the performance all come together. If you've been behind the scenes of one of these before, it's correct. Funny.
I think for people that do performance and that have done theater and musical theater in particular, you get a lot more out of it, just because you go through these experiences and you go through shows that have different levels of talent and commitment when you're doing that sort of thing. So it's very recognizable. So I just got a couple of other things. We went through a lot of the stuff that I had on here earlier in the show, so I'm not going to repeat any of that. But I got this was Meryl Streep's favorite movie. Apparently.
Oh.
Okay. I didn't verify that.
You know what?
But,
my wife's acting teacher's in good company with the favorite movies.
I was going to say, is your wife's teacher Meryl Streep? Not a bad teacher.
My wife wishes.
Wallace Shawn. You know Wallace Shawn?
No.
So he's the guy that drinks the poison in Princess Bride. Really iconic.
Oh my gosh!
actor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so
and he's
you
in
mean
My
Rex
Dinner
from
with
Toy
Andre,
Story?
And I think he plays himself in My Dinner with Andre. Apparently, it's either he really wanted to be in this film, and maybe for the same reason as Martin Short was too recognizable, but basically that whole My Dinner with Andre action figure thing at the end, he actually has those action figures displayed in his house. Wallace Shawn does. So that's where those live today.
That's fun.
You got...
Sorry, Wallace Shawn, that I didn't know your name, but I know your voice really well.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have... It's, one of those things where I learn it and then I forget it. But once you'll picture him in your head.
Yeah, no, I got him in my head.
Oh, yeah. Very iconic.
Yeah.
I already talked about this, but I think it's worth repeating that the music and lyrics were by the Spinal Tap guys for the show. So they were involved. They just weren't in the film. Also, Michael McKean, one of the Spinal Tap guys, I'm wondering if this was the first time that he and Odenkirk crossed paths in a creative project, because obviously they would go on to be the brothers in Better Call Saul. Yeah. So just something to consider. I don't know if maybe they were in some comedy thing prior, but kind of interesting that they crossed paths here. We talked about the Independence, Missouri thing. The only R-rated guest film, and then this was on Variety's list of the best 100 movies of all time that they put together in 2022. So again, it's something that is... I feel like people don't talk about this movie a lot, but clearly, people still really love this movie. It's something that hasn't aged out. It's something that people still go back to. Let's heat it up, baby.
Oh, we're heating it up.
Hot. This is the hottest take. I'll just go in with mine. Red, White, and Blaine is better than 99% of all musicals. I would go and I would see this production, and I can't even decide. I think definitely the meta aspect is needed. You would need, can you imagine? And if they've done this, forgive me. I don't think they have, because it probably would have popped up in my cursory research. But they should actually do a Waiting for Guffman show where they Red, White, and Blaine is like the act 2. It's like a noises off situation.
I was going to say a la noises off. Yeah.
Exactly. It's kind of the rehearsal and trying to get the production ready. And then act 2, they actually do Red, White, and Blaine, and Corky's in there. I think that you could take that musical and it would basically be a modern day Spam-A-Lot, where it would just kind of take over. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, that this hasn't happened and that there hasn't been any desire to do this. It's probably because working on these films takes so long that, Christopher Guest probably just didn't want to get into doing a musical thing. But that's my take. It would be better than 99% of the musicals.
I actually, Jackie, I don't disagree with you. If it were made, are you saying like as it is now better, or if it were made into a musical?
Well, let me take a step back. Absolutely, as it is, as they did it.
Yes.
To me.
Okay. I want to. Okay. No. Okay. I want to agree with you on that, even though it is a hot take. But that's just mainly because I think modern musicals are sort of annoying, and so
it's something
I'll take a college try at a good sort of funny thing over a professionally done hunk of crap.
I mean, it had a lot of heart. It was lighthearted as well. It was something that was fun. Everybody in the audience loved it, and there's something in every single piece of it. The music is good enough. Yeah. The bits are funny. So I say put it on.
I agree with
Red,
you.
White, and Blaine on. Get that cast doing it. I'd be enjoying
every
myself.
4th of July, Jackie, Red, White, and Blaine.
They never really said what the date of the
I know, but I just feel like 4th of July is when we'd watch it every year if we were going to celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the funny parts, too, is when the narrator, just takes off his hat and he's got, like, the little America cap, and then everyone just comes out waving flags. It's like the standard, like, rah-rah ending where you just have everybody draped in American flags.
Draped in flags, Jackie. Draped in flags. That's how you end the musical.
All right, what's your take?
My hot take, Jackie, is get ready. Guffman's not real.
Oh.
He was never real to begin with. Corky is a sociopath, and he just wants to maintain a stranglehold over the town, and his place in it as like the autistic sort of head honcho director.
Now.
And he's like sending letters to himself and to other people to convince them with like different letterheads that this man is coming, when in reality he's just like slowly losing grip of his community theater production, and it was like a last ditch effort to like get all of these people to like stay on his side, even though they all love him. It's like this weird, he's like a cult leader.
The other thing is he's got a track record of lying to represent himself in public as one thing that he's not. Okay? And I'm talking
says
specifically,
he has a wife.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. He says, and other people say, that he's got this wife, and he says that he shops for his wife Bonnie, he buys most of her clothes. And the joke is that he's just shopping for himself. But you take that, what else is he lying about? What else might he be misrepresenting? Everything that you've said, there's no evidence that it's not that way. Because
exactly, Jackie.
We never see Guffman. We just hear about Guffman secondhand from Corky. That's it. He also represents Guffman and like gives everybody the stakes of what Guffman means. It's never really clear even what Guffman's role is. You said he was an agent, but he's just a representative from the Oppenheimer Foundation. So that initial letter is from Samuel Oppenheimer Jr., I think. What do they have to do with getting productions made on Broadway? That's never explained.
Jackie, I don't know, but I do know this. I don't trust Corky, Jackie. I don't trust him.
Is Corky short for something? Is it like a nickname, or is that like on his birth certificate?
Jackie,
his name is Corky.
We're way past questions. Sorry,
questions. I just popped into my head. I like that. That was a good hot take, Tyler.
It's a good hot take.
Keep those flying. Let's keep going. Let's go to Strangers in the Night, the best cameo or feature. There's a lot of them here. What do you got?
Well, I already kind of said mine, the Don Lake, because of my sort of
what
love
part
for the
was Don Lake?
Don Lake. Oh, I gotta go back. He's the God. What is
he?
His
One
name
of the mayor's crew?
Yeah, like, he's Phil Burgess. He's the
that means nothing to me.
He's the guy at the very, very beginning. Hold on.
He's the guy like pointing out, we got to put a rifle here, a rifle here, a rifle here.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the mustachioed, like historian guy who.
Oh.
At the desk at the beginning.
Okay, so he's also in like Best in Show and stuff.
Yeah, he's in Best in Show and stuff too.
I just didn't know him by name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. He's the.
He's like the auditorium manager or something.
Yeah, auditorium manager. They don't call him the historian, but that's what he's acting as.
Yeah, and then he's the historian there. He pops up in a lot of these.
The
he's always
films.
kind of a big part.
But yeah, I knew him from I was like, that's the Super Mario.
So I didn't realize he was in Super Mario. Okay.
The Super Mario movie. I watched it like 3 weeks ago. That's the only reason I know.
I've got some options. I wanted to mention, I think we mentioned Brian Doyle Murray. He's not the answer, but it's just weird that he pops up. He's Johnny Savage's father, and he says like 2 words the whole time. It's just like he must have just been around. It's just bizarre that he's there for like 2 seconds. And then Michael Hitchcock is one of my candidates because I think he has the most detail of what he's giving for the least amount of screen time. He's like really just into Corky. He gives all of those reaction shots when he's in the audience. So I'd say bang for your buck. I'd go Michael Hitchcock. I'm going to mention David Cross again just because I think a lot of people, that's what they would say, is that's the iconic one.
David Cross is,
But another one just out of left field, the Raging Bull guy. And I have to assume that the Raging Bull guy was just one of the local, because in the auditions, they actually just had locals from Lockhart, Texas do some of those auditions. So I think this guy might have been one of those. Just might have been some random guy. So Raging Bull guy is pretty iconic. So I'd say him, and then if not him, Michael Hitchcock with Steve.
Do you think that Bob Odenkirk and David Cross like are together on this film because they were like together all the time?
I would assume so, because this has to line up with the timing of when they were doing Mr. Show.
They would,
and it just seems bizarre that they would be doing that at the time, and you know that has to be the only reason Bob Odenkirk was around. And I bet you they got David Cross like to do that specific bit, and then Bob Odenkirk was just around, so he came in and did that thing, and then they ended up cutting it from the final.
I mean, hey. David Cross has a look, and it is weird UFO guy.
All right, the Me and My Shadow Award for the best brothers, sisters, or companions. We've kind of expanded the scope, and you kind of got to do that in this one because it's not really any brothers.
No, there's no brothers, but you know who the best platonic companions are? Corky and his wife, Jackie.
You see, so as we expand this category, I wrote down brothers, sisters, platonic companions. I feel like for this one, I just have to chop off platonic, and I have to give it to Ron and Sheila. They're just the best pair.
They are,
so maybe
Jackie.
This just has to be the best pair. If they're brothers, it's a +1.
It's a +1.
Ron and Sheila, just if you had to pick a pair, they're like the only pair. Like
Facts.
Everybody else in this film kind of exists on their own. They're the only ones that kind of exist as a unit. So that's why I feel like I had to give it to them. But I like your answer as well.
I kind of dodged it a little bit. I gave one of my satirical answers, Jackie. Corky and his wife. They're the best brothers.
All right, let's go to the Chairman of the Board Award for who won this film.
Jackie, it is between two for me, and it's either Catherine O'Hara or Christopher Guest.
Yeah.
And I know we talked about the Guest stuff.
Yeah, if we talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, I don't know if Catherine O'Hara's name would even come up in who won the film. I think that's a nostalgic view. I think clearly Christopher Guest wins this film for no other reason than the fact that this kicked off his whole stream of the mockumentaries, and that became synonymous with his name. So this is kind of the beginning of that legacy for him. And it also, I think, his performance, it might be of a certain age and it might not be for everybody, but his performance in this film, I think, kind of everything else that I would associate with him before this. I mean, the thing that most people would probably point to in his just performance career is being the six-fingered man in The Princess Bride, and obviously Spinal Tap. So he's got those two, and even in Spinal Tap, he's one of the main characters, but he's not maybe the main character. So his ability to kind of be the sun around which all of the other pieces, rotate, I think he does it from the acting side in this film. He also does it from the directing side. He proves that he can, be his own Rob Reiner type figure here. And he goes on to have a great 10-year run of kind of hit after hit after hit, ending with, I would say that probably my least favorite is the one that ends that run, which might be the reason why he took such a big gap between For Your Consideration and Mascots.
For Your Consideration.
For Your Consideration is just something I have to revisit. It might be something that I go back to, and especially in the context of Catherine O'Hara being at the center of that film, it might be something that I would be very interested to go back and look at it. But as I watch all these films, the first three are the ones that I really have core memories that I watch over and over again, and that a lot of this stuff is just internalized. So Christopher Guest won it for me.
Same, Jackie. And just to build off what you were saying, despite what modern viewers may think of the vocal affectation of his performance, his energy and the direction do drive the film. It is the reason it's successful. It's the reason it's funny. All of these other players are playing off of him. You couldn't have Eugene Levy's character be the way that he is without having Christopher Guest being how he is. You couldn't have Don Lake be how he is. You couldn't have all of these people be these small town people if Christopher Guest didn't take it to that level. And it really does just propel you through the film. Yeah. Regardless of how you feel about the modern day interpretation of how that performance is being done and how he's not gay and he's playing a gay man. It's as long as you go in knowing those things and know that it was a different time in filmmaking, you're going to have a good time with the film.
I mean, there have been a lot worse representations of somebody that isn't, that exact thing.
Yes,
on
Jackie.
Film.
This is, I think
Kingsley
this is
inoffensive.
I mean,
there's a lot. If you're going to kind of, pick nits, you can pick that nit, but it's something that doesn't ruin the film. I think
this is less offensive in my opinion, than Robert Downey Jr. Tropic Thunder.
Oh, I mean,
right?
It's unbelievable to me that was 2010. I mean,
he almost won an Oscar for that.
Bizarre time, maybe even 2008 for that film.
Yeah.
So, what's your rating out of 5 francs? So we got a rating. 1
I don't need to explain my rating system anymore.
No.
Oh yeah,
people can go back to the previous podcast.
You can
it's simple.
Jackie,
it's a out of 5.
It's pretty simple. It's out of 5. 5 means I'm going to watch it a bunch.
You can't chop Frank in half, so
can't
it's got to be a solid number.
5 means I want to watch it a bunch. 4 means I liked watching it enough to watch it a couple more times. 3 means it's all right. I'm probably not going to go out of my way. Second is definitely not. First is I regret watching this. But Jackie, this Guffman, if he's waiting, 4 francs, Jackie.
4 francs. I
4
agree.
francs, Jackie.
I gave it 4 francs as well. Again, people, it's really difficult to get 5 francs.
Hard to get 5 francs, Jackie.
Now, this gets about as close. I mean, this is as solid of a 4 out of 5 as I can give. This is something where if we gave, decimal point ratings, it might get all the way up to a 4.5, a 4.75. We don't do that, okay? You got to round down. There are elements, anytime we give out demerits, there are things that could have been slightly better. And for me, the thing that pulls this from a 5 down to a 4 is Johnny Savage. Hate to say
Johnny Savage,
it's funny too, Tyler, that actor, he retired from acting in 2010, and now he's a scientist.
Not just a pretty face, Jackie.
Yeah. He's like a university teacher in Oregon.
Oh, an Oregon teacher, Jackie.
That's how we say it.
We say Oregon here.
All right. Well, we agree on the rating. This is another highly rated film. And next week, what are we going to do, Tyler? I got some options here. We can just go through really quick.
Yeah, bring through the options, Jackie.
So, we could do something kind of new, from last year. There's some, this stuff is all, by the way, available on Netflix. I just kind of scanned their new films or the newly added. So we got the Margaret Qualley flick, Honey Don't. We got the Emily Gordon Netflix movie, Oh Hi. We've got Train Dreams. That's an Academy Award nominated film with, what is that guy's name? Is it Taron Egerton? I don't know. But it's supposed to be...
Taron Egerton.
It's supposed to be a fantastic film. It's got William H. Macy in it as well. The movie Influencer, that'd be taking more of a horror movie turn, okay?
Yeah.
You got Jay Kelly with Clooney and Adam Sandler. You got Eden with Sydney Sweeney and a host of other characters. It's supposed to be terrible. But it's got so many names in it. And it's a Ron Howard movie. Part of me is just really curious at why it's so bad. And then we got Goldeneye with Pierce Brosnan.
Is that I was like, that Pierce Brosnan movie? Okay. I mean, I was interested in Honey Don't, Jackie. I'm not going to lie to you. But also, Eden immediately piqued my interest. When you said Sydney Sweeney and it's going to be bad and Ron Howard, that makes me really want to watch it.
So, just so you know, Honey Don't got pretty lukewarm reviews as well. So it's do you want to watch something kind of fast, snappy? It's got one of the Coen brothers that was directing it, I believe. Or Eden could be potentially a slog, could be a mess, but also has, and I apologize, I don't know, I can't remember the full cast, but if you look up kind of the main 4 people in Eden, it's wow, how can this be bad? It's just one of those. So Eden or Honey Don't?
Jackie, let's do Eden. Right. I'm in for a slog. Let's do Eden.
All right, we're going to go to Eden. I believe it's based on a true story. It's set in, I don't even remember. I'll say, sometime in the 20th century, and it's these folks that got separated from society on this island. There's all these, gender and social politics at play potentially.
Yeah,
and that's what we're doing next week.
Bad.
Eden.
Oh no, Jackie. Oh, you're right.
Don't get ahead of yourself,
Sydney
Tyler.
Sweeney, Vanessa Kirby, Jude Law.
Yeah,
no.
It's got the Jude Law in it, the Vanessa Kirby. Isn't there a 4th person that's in it that's notable as well?
Daniel Bruhl.
Okay, so those are names. Those are people. So we're going to do Eden next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the Brother Sinatra podcast. I'm Jack Sinatra.
And I'm Tyler Sinatra. And we're the Brother Sinatra.